Craig.
What's up, Nick?
My friend.
How are we doing, buddy?
A lot better than the last 2 nights, that's for sure.
I feel ya.
Also, monitoring a situation in Philly of pretty big importance to the Reds. Marlins leading 5-4. Bottom of the 9th, Bryce Harper at the plate, 1 on. No one out yet. So that's certainly worth keeping an eye on here.
Number of situations going on around the league. You mentioned the Marlins game, but Corbin Burns pulled after 8 hitless innings in New York. They handed over to the bullpen and Devin Williams, who continues the no-hitter. They are headed to extras, 0-0. Yankees no hits through 9. Brewers only 3 hits themselves, though. So interesting game going on there. I know fans love to think that David Bell overmanages, but imagine if Devin Williams would have given up a run there in the 9th after pulling Corbin Burns in a no-hitter.
Yeah. Appreciate that update. Honestly, I haven't been paying a whole lot of attention to the Brewers. I really only give a damn about teams that really impact the Reds at this point. But no, Craig Counsell is a lot smarter manager than Gabe Kapler was, deciding to, go for a statistic and Alex Cobb, and then Alex Cobb's looked like crap since. So,
and
good managing.
Also for the wild card race, the Cubs currently lead the Diamondbacks 5-2 in the 7th. So we'll be keeping our eye on that one throughout today as well. As Alexis Diaz, as we talked about last night, comes in a non-save situation. Reds lead 7-1 in the 9th. But Diaz, again, hadn't thrown in nearly a week. So good to get him a little bit of work. Hopefully he can keep it short and close this one down for the Reds.
Beautiful, Craig. Craig's helped me out a little bit here. I'm trying to kind of get our bottom bar up and running. A little bit harder on a Sunday to kind of get this thing going. My wife, who has been a trooper all year, so I can do this silly show. Not feeling her best today. So trying to kind of get a lot of stuff done. But no excuses. We're going to power through. And hopefully we're 3 outs away from celebrating a huge win for the Reds. And the Phillies just put 2 runners on base.
Yep, shout out to Andrea, a real one for sure.
Yeah, for real. This show does not survive. How about this? I'm looking at the Louisville box score. Arroyo Lopez had 2 hits today. He came in as a pinch hitter for Newman.
Gets sent down to Louisville. Immediately gets thrown into the game. Probably had to drive down himself.
What a legend, man.
Man. Alejo Lopez gets thrown out of last night's ball game. What a dog. As Lucan Baker sends this one to center. Bader settling underneath it, and we've got 2 away, Kirby.
What a pro. What a pro, Craig. What a pro. Love it. Love it. All right.
Diaz 6 pitches in 2 outs. Yeah, tell you what, couldn't have asked for a whole lot better day on a Sunday here so far. We'll ignore the score in the NFL game today.
They still play football.
They still play football, yeah. Although the Bengals apparently did not show up today to play. So, but for those of you interested, Chatterbox Bengals still going on. Despite the poor performance from the Bengals. But not a poor performance out of the Reds today. Hunter Green, we'll talk about a lot, I'm sure. Good day in Reds country.
Shout out to the guys over at Chatterbox Bengals. Trust me, if there's anyone that knows what it's like to deal with a chat full of overreactions. Yo! India! Craig.
India's back. Votto's back.
Craig.
Chatterbox Reds is back.
Woo!
Let's do a show.
Let's do a show.
High drive. Left center field. Racing back to the Laurent Bourgeois. The Reds are National League Central Division champions.
All right, what is going on? Welcome to Chatterbox Reds live post game where the Cincinnati offense had a great day today. Craig, how we feeling?
We're feeling great, Nick. We're feeling great. It was a great day for the Reds all the way around. I mean, I'm worked up, baby. I'm ready to go. We got Hunter Green back, throw in dimes, absolutely dominating 6 innings. Jonathan India's back, made that great play to end the game, hit a home run. Joey still bangs. The bullpen is still locked down. We got Willie coming back to throw on Tuesday. Look, if the scores hold up around the league, the Reds will be a game and a half back. Everybody wants to write them off. If you're telling me this team can't make up a game and a half in 18 games with the weakest schedule in the MLB, I got something to tell you.
Just Craig, just a day that you just kind of can take a deep breath here. You kind of reset a little bit. We're still alive. 17 games to play. Boy, we needed this one today, and I haven't felt like the Reds have had one of these like complete games in a long time, right? Maybe I'm missing one. I mean, they kind of had one against the Mariners, right? But that was still like kind of a pieced together game. Like this was a great starting pitching performance, great bullpen performance, great offense performance. When's the last time the Reds have had all three of those in the same game?
I can't remember one. I mean, it's been a long time. I'd have to go back and look. I'm sure I'm forgetting one. I know like you said, the Mariners. But yeah, I mean, a performance like this where you get one hit out of your starting pitcher over 6 innings, bullpen comes in, shuts it down. I cannot think of a more dominant performance out of this team. All around positive notes, literally up and down the lineup. If you're a Reds fan, this is the kind of game, quite frankly, that you were expecting and hoping for, the first 2 games of the series. But, you bounce back and now you look forward to the last 17 games.
Yeah, still alive and just a fun day today. Man, we needed it. All right, let's run through the box score recap real quick, and then we'll spend some time talking about this game, celebrating this win, and see where the day takes us. I don't know if Trace is going to join us or not. He was coming back from a bachelor party, so I'm not sure if he's back in town. So I'm tweeting today, so we'll see if he jumps on or not. But today's box score recap, this is presented by Betfred Sportsbook. Hunter Green, in his return from the COVID IL, was fantastic. 6 innings, only allowed 1 hit, no earned runs in this one. Did walk 4 as he was a little rusty maybe at times, but struck out 9 batters. Just gave the Reds everything you could ask for and more. Felt like he was going to be done for the day after 5 innings. Pitch count was mounting, but had a quick 11 pitch top of the 6th. End of the day, 109 pitches. Just a big-time performance from Hunter Green. And the Reds offense, it got going early and often in this one. Jonathan India and Will Benson solo home runs in the 3rd inning got the Reds on the board. In the bottom of the 6th, Spencer Steer had an RBI single that put the Reds up 3-1. Nick Martini triple put the Reds up 4-1. And then an RBI ground out from Votto made it 5-1 Cincinnati. Then in the bottom of the 7th, TJ Friedel capped off a great day for him. Had a triple early in the game, hit a solo home run to make it 6-1. And then in the bottom of the 8th, Joey Votto homered on his 40th birthday, his first game back, put the Reds up 7-1. Buck Farmer, TJ Antone, Alexis Diaz, 3 no-hit innings. Just another ho-hum day from the Cincinnati Reds bullpen. Reds win 7-1. Reds continue to hang around in the wild card race. We'll see, where the day takes us at the end of the day. But if you're watching, here are the standings. Reds at the moment are 2 back. Arizona is currently trailing the Cubs 5-2 late in that game. So if that score holds, the Reds would be a game and a half back. But that maybe Craig should read more a game because the Reds hold the tiebreaker over the Diamondbacks. So huge nonetheless. Craig, give me some quick thoughts, and then we'll go to our deep drive of the game.
Yeah. Initial thoughts, Hunter Green. I thought, like you mentioned, maybe a little rusty early on, struggled to get control. The 4 walks that he gave up were in the first 4 innings, and then he really settled in over the last couple. His stuff was electric, though. I mean, 9 strikeouts over the 6 innings. He looked like the Hunter Green that we need to have down the stretch if we want to compete for this wild card spot. So that was really positive to see. I don't think we were really expecting Jonathan India to be back today. So having him back and having that power from the right-hand side, he looked really good offensively and defensively. So positive having him back for sure. 7 extra base hits. This team continues to slug, and that's a good sign as well. The deep ball was in the Reds' favor today for sure. And like you said, the deep south drive of the game.
Well, I had to change it last minute. I was going to give it as a code to India and Benson, but I mean, Trace made a rule. When Joey Votto hits a home run, it is our automatic deep drive of the game, and it had to be today on his 40th birthday. Really incredible to see. 437-foot bomb in the 8th inning, put the Reds up 7-1. Just a great way to cap off a great day for the Reds. And our deep drive of the day is sponsored by Deep South Commodities. DSC is a leader in renewable commodities for biofuel productions, specializing in used cooking oil collection, aggregation, and sales. Visit www.deepsouthcommodities.com for more information. Thanks as always to our friends at DSC. And any day we get that DSC logo on here, it's a good day because they only sponsor Reds wins. They won't sponsor Reds losses. So we got to see them back today. A little bit more on Hunter Green, Craig. 17 swing and misses. He had his velocity up to 99.5 was where he maxed out today. Some of the narratives that have been surrounding Hunter Green, I felt like at times have been unfair. I hope he put a little bit of those to bed today. I mean, this was a big time performance when the Reds absolutely needed it. And he gave you some real encouragement that, you know, the Reds can manipulate the starting pitching rotation down the stretch with 17 games to play. They have 1, 2, 3, 4 off days in the last 17 games. So you can manipulate it. You can get maybe an extra start here and 2 out of Hunter Green. And if he can do anything like this, the Reds really are going to have a chance. I don't want to go too far because it was 1 start. But it kind of gives you hope that maybe Hunter Green could do a little bit of what, and I know there's a lot of other things surrounding him, but what he did in 2020 still stands. And Trevor Bauer, how down the stretch he was dominant, kind of won several games for the Reds in that late season playoff push. Kind of think maybe Hunter Green could maybe do something like that for the Reds.
Yeah, with 4 days off, you've got an opportunity to really manipulate that starting rotation. And if Hunter Green can throw like this, it gives you a lot of faith to be able to give guys like Abbott a day off here and there. Willie is now coming back off of the COVID IL, so you've got him coming in as well. It really just gives you an opportunity to set yourself up for the run. And with 4 days off, Hunter Green, if he can continue to pitch like this, you mentioned Trevor Bauer. I mean, he was going on 3 days rests back then and really putting together some really quality starts in order to help the Reds get to those playoffs. And Hunter Green can do the same thing. He's well rested, obviously having spent a long stint on the injured list this year. He should have a fresh arm, and if he can maintain control and continue to have the velocity that he showed today and the movement on his pitches that he showed today, a lot of depth on some of those breaking balls, I think there's an opportunity for him to really step up in this pitching rotation and take over down the stretch with these days off, and David Bell can kind of use those to his advantage. And 17 days, games left, you may only need 4 starting pitchers in order to really get through that.
Many times be able to get by with 3.
I know.
Especially that last week of the season, you have day off Monday at Cleveland, day off Thursday, and then 3 games. So you could really manipulate it. Maybe even go 3 days rest with a guy like Hunter Green, just because of how fresh his arm is compared to a lot of other guys at this time of the year. But we have to stay alive until that point for that to even matter. today was a good step in the right direction.
Well, and if your bullpen continues to pitch lights out, you don't need 7 or 8 innings out of Hunter Green. If you can get a 6-inning performance like you got today, that bullpen has shown all year long that it has the ability to keep that game locked down. So, 109 pitches today is certainly on the upper end of where you'd expect him to go. But, I think as he kind of gets his control intact, that number will come down and give him an opportunity to contribute to this team and hand it over to the bullpen in order to close down games. So if you can get Hunter Green every 4 days to go out there and give you 6 innings, I think that puts you in a good position to win 4 more ball games throughout the end of the year, because I think he's probably got 3 or 4 more starts left in him with the way the schedule lines up.
All right, to the Reds offense. 12 hard hit balls today off Miles Michaelis. Felt like at times Michaelis was going to somehow survive this outing. The Reds only had 2 runs through 5 innings. Finally were able to kind of put this game, at least maybe seize control of this game, the better way to say it, in the 6th inning. But the Reds offense, again, last night was tough late in the game, but overall this last week or so, the Reds offense looks like it's coming in the right direction. Got some reinforcements today. Both of them looked good, looked comfortable, looked like they're ready to contribute. Let's start with Jonathan India, because neither one of us thought he was going to be here today. I think I said best case scenario, he was going to come up for the Tigers series, but I guess, I'm assuming the Noelvi Marte not being available today was the reason Jonathan India came up. And they said, you know what, screw 1 extra day of a rehab assignment. Jonathan, if you're feeling good, get up here. We could use you in the lineup today. They could also maybe give you a hint that the Reds don't want to play start CES at third base, because they could have started CES at third base, Steer at second base. I think the Reds don't really feel comfortable doing that unless it's like a late game situation where you're trying to come back and you're kind of saying, whatever with the defense, but you don't want to start the game like that, especially with a guy like Hunter Green, and, you're risking throwing the ball around and messing up, a good effort like we had from him today. But Jonathan India, man, to hit that home run, put the Reds up 1-0, just kind of felt like, all right, might sound silly, put him on your back, fellas, let's go.
Yeah, I mean, Jonathan India has been looked at as a leader in this clubhouse all year long, and that was a big piece of wanting to get him back. He's a great team guy, and people love having him around the clubhouse. But for him to come out today, that home run in the 3rd, he got on base his first 3 times up to bat today, looked really good, looked good defensively as well. It was interesting after he hit that home run, and they mentioned it on the broadcast too, but he was looking back into the dugout. I'm sure he had said something. Somebody had said something throughout the game about his comeback, and maybe put a little pressure on him to hit that homer. And he certainly stepped up to the plate and did it. But he looked really good. It's worth noting on the broadcast today, they did talk about Noelvi Marte officially fracture in his nose. So it's going to be a little bit of a wait and see how he feels kind of thing, how his breathing is. But it's really good to know that Jonathan India is back and already at major league ready level. And great to see him do that first at bat, taking the long ball. And then obviously Joey coming up, the 2 guys that you get back today at the end of the game, hitting a long ball of his own.
Will Benson, the next guy that homered, starting to look a little more comfortable at the plate, had a couple good games in a row. Smoked a ball later in the game as well. 3 hard hit balls total on the day, 3 hits. Hit 9th, man. Will Benson makes this lineup look a whole lot better against right-handed pitching when he's rolling.
Yeah. And it helped today that he was on. Jake Fraley obviously struggled a little bit at the plate today, but Will Benson, 3 hard hit balls, home run, double, single, did have that 1 strikeout in the 6th, but I thought he looked really good at the plate today. Saw a number of pitches, took the ball the opposite way in his last at bat for that single. So Will Benson being at the bottom of that lineup is certainly helps turn it over. We talked a lot at the other day about what this team is going to have to do with moves, and both Senzel and Benson are showing that they don't want to be the ones to go down. So there's going to be some decisions still that have to be made as people get healthy. But yeah, Will Benson has shown, and Nick Senzel as well, that neither one wants to be the one that is sent down.
Joey Votto.
Ho hum. I mean, look, happy birthday, Joey, first and foremost, right? Happy birthday to Joey. It just, I don't know what it is about Joey. He just finds a way in moments and in games to just make those memorable moments. I mean, he did it when he returned earlier this year. He did it today. You know, I don't want to get too high on Joey Votto and what he can bring to this team down the stretch offensively, but certainly from a leadership perspective, he can still provide. And it's tough, but like, it just feels like Joey's one of those guys that when he decides he wants to hit a home run, like he just finds a way to do it. And I don't know what it is about him. It just, it feels like some of those moments where he's like, all right, it's my turn. He just steps up and does it. So, yeah, I mean, look, 3 ground outs in his first 3 at bats. Didn't really look great in his rehab assignment, but you can't look. I mean, you can't help but smile when you talk about Joey Votto and what he's provided to this team over the last 20 years or whatever. So yeah, I don't want to get too excited about it, but it was nice to see Joey get his homer today. And for him to get that kind of late inning run.
Yeah, it was a great moment. It was a special moment for the greatest Reds hitter, at least the greatest Reds hitter that played the majority of his career here ever. You don't want to get too high off of a moment like this. I mean, this was off of a lefty with an ERA over 7. It was a curveball right down the middle of the plate, but it was still a cool moment. I think you still probably need to pick your spots with Joey Votto down the stretch. I think there's going to be nights where Christian Encarnacion and Strand and Jake Fraley are better options, because unless you're playing CS at third base, which I don't think they should, you can't play all 3 of those guys in the same game. But it's 17 games left in the season. It's kind of who can get hot. And is Joey Votto capable of one hot stretch over 17 games? Absolutely. I mean, so is Christian Encarnacion and Strand, so is Jake Fraley. So this is where David Bell really has to earn his paycheck, maybe more so than at any point of his entire career as Reds manager, because it's more so than just managing numbers, because it's not you don't have 162 games for stuff to level out. You have a bunch of players that aren't at 100% that you have to pick and choose from. And that's where there's no statistical data that tells you what to do. And I'm the analytical guy, but that's where we are right now. You're having to evaluate these guys, and some of it's going to be guesswork, but he's going to have some tough decisions, and let's just hope whoever he picks can get hot.
This is the time of the year where you've got to ride the hot hand a little bit, I think. And analytics will and should play a part in your decision-making process, but probably more than any other time of the year, now's the time where it might be the right move to trust your gut a little bit. It might be the right move to ride that hot hand and see, okay, Spencer Steer was 2 for 3 today. TJ Friedel was 2 for 4 today. Will Benson was 3 for 4 today. Maybe you give them another look, even if it's not a favorable matchup, just to ride that hot hand. And Will Benson, I think they said it on the broadcast today, I think he's got an extra base hit in 7 of his last 8 hits, or 6 of his last 8 hits now. I've all been extra base hits. He's certainly raking the ball well. So an opportunity to play him a little bit more, maybe. David Bell was talked on the broadcast on Apple TV the other night as a manager of the year candidate, and what he does down this stretch may cement his place in that conversation, at least, because you've got a lot of options, and how he draws up this lineup and manages this bullpen and starting pitching rotation down the stretch could be the difference between the Reds being in the playoffs and not.
Yep.
No pressure though, David.
Yeah, no pressure. And these are tough. These are tough calls. I mean, I'm sitting here looking at this and I'm like, yeah, what do you do with some of these decisions? I mean, I think there is some analytical data that you can look at, such as, and I know the Reds do this, as I know everyone, when they see the lineup come out, they always, well, why is this guy not playing? I think we always have to remember is there's so much more data out there than even we see that these big league teams have in terms of what is this pitcher throw, what is this pitch mix, how does this player perform against players that are pitchers that have similar mixes and things like that. So I think you can use some of that. Then you can kind of weigh in who's hot, who's not, and you have to make some really tough decisions, and we'll see how they play out. But some other guys, TJ Friedl had a great day, a triple and a homer. I mean, this guy's, it's felt like he's gone, he was really rolling through the first 3 or 4 months of the year, hit a lull, came back, looked good, hit another lull, but now he's starting to look like he's picking back up. And man, he's just such a huge weapon at the top of the lineup when he's playing well.
He gave us a bit of a scare there on that triple. I got really nervous. That slide. But yeah, he just brings such energy to the lineup. It feels like, quite frankly, that triple and the home run. I give Miles Michaelis a little bit of credit, but I mean, he's a junk ball pitcher. He's really not that great of a pitcher. I thought the top of our lineup was just way out ahead of everything early on in the game. And so give TJ Friedl and a number of the other guys credit for making adjustments and being able to sit back on the ball. And Friedl in his first 2 at bats, kind of weak grounders to the right side of the infield. And then later on in the game, make adjustments, which is what you want to see out of your offense, and hit that triple in the home run to wrap up his day.
Nick Martini. What a season, man. Is Nick Martini like the one guy that kind of like just cements how crazy this Reds team is this year as much as anyone?
I don't think there's another player that represents this season better than Nick Martini. I mean, all year we've been talking about guys having to step up and make plays, make spot starts, whatever, whether it be a starting pitcher or otherwise. And Nick Martini in his 2 or 3 weeks now, I mean, just continues to find ways to contribute offensively. He hit a triple today, back to back, not back to back, but separated by Spencer Steer, but 2 triples there in the 6th with him and Friedl. In a good at bat. I mean, he fouled off a 2-strike pitch there before the triple. And so, yeah, I mean, if you would have told us that Nick Martini was going to be one of our offensive MVPs this year, especially down the stretch, I don't think anybody would have even thought twice about that. I do want to point out one move that was interesting to me in the moment, but I think really paid off, was pinch running for him. After that triple, they brought in Harrison Bader to pinch run for him, and Bader ended up scoring on that weak ground ball from Joey Votto. I'm not sure that Nick Martini scores on that ball. Didn't end up mattering, but was a move that I think should be noticed, because I don't think that Nick Martini's scoring on that weak ground ball to the shortstop from Joey Votto. And so that potentially could have played into the whole the game as well.
Well, I'm sure the move also was defensively as well.
For sure.
I think didn't Friedl make a nice play later up against the wall when he moved over to left field, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, those kind of things matter. I don't think Nick Martinez is necessarily a very good defensive outfielder, hence why the Reds were DHing him before they kind of ran into this whole, when Jake Fraley came back and pretty much has cemented himself as the full-time DH against right-handed pitching. But what a season from Nick Martinez. And then Spencer Steer. I mean, I feel like every time I look at a box score, 2 hits from Spencer Steer. I mean, this dude just what a freaking season, man.
He seems to do it so quietly too. I mean, I loved his aggressiveness in that second inning. He hit that single, tried to extend it into a double, really close play at second. I know Trace tweeted out that he wishes that they would have challenged it. The 2 replays that we saw, I didn't see anything that would have overturned it at least, but I love the aggressiveness. This team is best, in my opinion, when they are aggressive on the base pass. You saw the 7 extra base hits today. Obviously, Steer trying to extend that double. I thought that Spencer Steer had a really good, quiet, successful day. I mean, a great at bat in the 7th as well, ending up with a walk. He had that RBI single in the 6th. So, yeah, I mean, Spencer Steer continues to almost be the little quiet MVP on this team, and I don't think that you can overstate what he's contributed so quietly throughout this entire year.
Breaking news. Diamondbacks lose. Your Cincinnati Reds, 1.5 games out of a playoff spot against a team they hold the tiebreaker on. Oh,
We're
boy.
out of it, Nick. We're out of it. It's over.
It's over.
Season's over.
Turn it over.
Season's over.
Countdown to March. Clowns.
Oh, man. Look, the reality of the situation is that, they still have Miami between them. So it's not like it's just them in Arizona racing for the spot. But, I mean, thank you, Chicago. We talked about it a while back, but this is a series with Chicago and Arizona that you would have liked one team to just sweep the other. Would have been the most beneficial for you. But get a win on Sunday, and the Cubs get a win, and now you're a 1.5 games back, and certainly within striking range against the team that you have the tiebreaker against.
Yeah, and to the Marlins' credit this week, they took they won 2 of 3 against the Dodgers, and then they won 2 of 3 against the Phillies. So that's a impressive week from them. They've got the Brewers and the Braves next. Still got another series after the Brewers. So if they pull this off, they will have certainly earned it. They're not really the team I'm worried about. Maybe I should. I kind of feel like if the Reds can't finish ahead of the Marlins, they're not going to finish ahead of someone else. Is probably where I look at it. But you know what? We'll see. We'll see how this plays out. It's going to be a fun thing to watch every day. We'll go back into the race, and I also got the schedule. Got a little graphic of who plays who tomorrow with the Reds off. We'll run through that and all the pitching matchups and kind of just get an idea and a feel of what's going on Monday. But the Reds bullpen, you have to mention it. Today they had a comfortable lead, which was such a rare occurrence for this bullpen to get to pitch 3 innings with a, multiple run lead. Haven't had a whole lot of that, at least of late. But great job. Buck Farmer only got to his inning on 8 pitches. TJ Antone, it did take him 19 to get through his, but Alexis Diaz, could you have wanted a better situation for Alexis Diaz? 9-pitch inning. Exactly. You wanted him to get some work with the day off tomorrow, but he didn't have to really overexert himself. Just a perfect day for Alexis Diaz. It was just nice to see these pitchers all come through. No one walked a bunch of batters. TJ Antone had 1 walk. That was the only one where you had to maybe bring in another pitcher and you had to really go through. Just a great job for the bullpen today, just to keep it moving, keep everyone fresh. And you're going to go into the series against the Tigers, which we'll talk about them a little bit more here in a minute, with a really fresh, rested bullpen, and that's great to see.
I think you said everything we need to say. I mean, the bullpen has been shut down all year, and it's funny. I think if you go back and watch our show last night, everything that we said we needed to have happen today happened. Offensively, we stepped up. Hunter Green stepped up. The bullpen did its job, and Alexis Diaz got a chance to get some work in without being stressed. I mean, the Reds, like I said at the opener, couldn't have asked for a better day today. They got the help that they needed across the league with Arizona losing now. So no, I mean, I'm very satisfied with the way today went for sure.
All right, and here's where it officially stands here. MLB.com finally updated, so I can put this on here. I swear, whenever a game ends, it takes them like 20 minutes to actually have it get put into their own system. But Gamecast can be like 10 minutes ahead of the TV broadcast. Incredible stuff. But nonetheless, as pointed out by someone in our chat, Alex Wallace pointed out, Phillies lost too. So, yeah, I mean, look, the Reds are still 5.5 behind them, but the Reds are only 3.5 behind the Cubs. So, again, I know right now it's, okay, Reds in Arizona, that's the team you're chasing. But there's also the possibility that one of the Phillies or Cubs loses like 6 or 7 in a row, and that could open up another spot. And that's what's important, because the Diamondbacks could just get super hot and season's over. That's what happened in 2021 for the Reds. Yeah, the Reds didn't play very well down the stretch, but the Cardinals somehow ended up winning 91 games because they won, 17 in a row? Now, God forbid that's not going to happen, but the Diamondbacks could have another stretch where they win 5 in a row, and it doesn't even really matter what the Reds do. So, again, the more teams that you could be in contention with, the better. I like the Reds are only 3.5 behind the Cubs as well. Man, if they could have just won that game yesterday, I'm going to try to lose too much sleep over it. They would be a half game behind the Diamondbacks, and they would only be a game and a half behind the Cubs. It'd really be in a good spot. But, hey, it is what it is. Nothing we can do about it now. Definitely still have given themselves a chance. Anything else you're kind of looking at with this race here?
No. For those scoreboard watchers, the Giants host the Rockies tonight at 7 p.m. on ESPN. So
I think it's at 8.
Game. Oh, sorry, I'm Central Time Zone. 8 p.m. Eastern. The Rockies have Peter Lambert going up against the Giants starting pitcher Keaton Wynn. So anything can happen in that game. So go cheer on the Rockies for sure. And yeah, yesterday would have been nice to pick up the dub, but we move on.
Yeah, here's tomorrow. So obviously the Giants do still play tonight, but tomorrow Reds are off. So full night of scoreboard watching tomorrow. Could be a great night for the Reds, or could be a really bad night for the Reds. We'll have to see. Diamondbacks going up against the Mets. Mets obviously not very good, but this is a good pitching matchup for Reds fans. Zach Davies has been one of the worst pitchers in baseball this year. Jose Quintana has been a really good pitcher for the Mets. So that is a good matchup, especially Corbin Carroll having to face a lefty. That's good as well. The Marlins going up against the Brewers. Brewers, please don't do what you did. Please don't pull that crap you did against the Cubs 2 weeks ago. Just get the job done. You're supposed to be a good team. Take care of business. Let's go. The Cubs, I mean, that's a good matchup for them against the Rockies, but it is a Coors Field, and wild things happen at Coors Field, right, Craig? You know what would be nice here, Craig, is if the Cubs pitching just gets beat around and they have to really exert themselves. Because how many times have we seen the Reds play in Colorado, and if you have to get like 30 innings out of your bullpen over 3 days, right?
Would have been really nice if Corbin Burns didn't go out and throw 8 shutout innings today, and the Brewers bullpen really got worked. They're now headed to the top of the 12th. So who knows what happens? I think at this point you have to hope that the Brewers just sweep the Marlins for the wild card's sake. division doesn't seem like it's in reach. But yeah, I mean, anything can happen in Colorado. Jordan Wicks has looked good early on in his career, but you never know what's going to happen. Arizona with Zach Davies, I mean, a 6.81 ERA going up against Quintana. So, yeah, I mean, an opportunity for the Reds to pick up half a game across the board would be really nice to get on a day off and pick up that half game going into the Tiger series.
Yeah, and I mean, Colorado, it's such a different animal. I remember earlier in the year when Hunter Green got rocked in Colorado, everyone's like was going off and on about him, and I was like, it's Coors Field, and I looked up, and sure enough, like Luis Castillo has like a 6 career ERA at Coors Field, just has got absolutely, decimated there. So again, the Cubs in that series, they're going with Wicks, who he's made like what 3 or 4 career starts, right?
Yep.
And then they got Javier Assad and Jameson Talion. So they're not going into Colorado with their best arms. So you really hope that the Colorado offense, which does play well at home, Colorado always plays better at Coors Field. You hope that they can get cooking, and if anything else, the Cubs bullpen could just get absolutely decimated this week, because the Cubs, after this series against the Rockies, they then go to Arizona. So next weekend, the Reds are going to pick up a game on games on someone if they can win. But if you lose, you also automatically lose games on someone.
Yeah, the Reds saw Jordan Wicks in Cincinnati on September 1. He went 5 innings, 5 hits, 1 run, which was earned. He did give up 3 walks. His last outing, September 6th, against the Giants, 6 2/3, 9 hits, 2 earned runs, no walks in that game. Doesn't really strike out a whole lot of people. 1 strikeout in his last game, 3 against the Reds. He struck out 9 in his debut, but I kind of throw away debuts a lot of times. Just there's not a lot of scouting reports out there. 4 strikeouts in his last 11 2/3 innings. So if people are putting the bat on the ball in Colorado, anything can happen for sure.
Yeah, and the Rockies, as I mentioned, really bad team, 51-90, but they're 29-38 at home, 22-52 on the road. So they're a much better team at home. So it'll be interesting. They're the only National League team that is eliminated. So shout out to you, Colorado. Nothing to lose.
Rockies.
Nothing to lose. Let's make it rain. All right. So the Reds, obviously, like we mentioned, day off on Monday. Good for the Reds right now. And then they'll go up to Detroit to play the Tigers. There hasn't been either pitcher officially announced unless it happened after the game ended. But Sadak said on the Reds broadcast that David Bell said Brandon Williamson is starting on Tuesday. So we'll see. Obviously, Williamson was absolutely rolling, Craig, before he had to go on the COVID IL. Hopefully he can be just like Hunter Green and be able to hit the ground running. But you always worry about rust. The Tigers, the other team, not very good, but they're 7-4 in their last 11. It's like, man, can the Reds get one of these bad teams that are actually playing bad?
The same thing that happened with this series. The Cardinals come in playing some of their best ball all year, end up taking 2 of 3. Now the Reds go to Detroit. They're 7-4 in their last 11. You do get arrested Brandon Williamson off the COVID IL, which is, in my opinion, a big gain. He is technically 0-2 in his last 4 starts. Gave up 5 runs, 3 of them earned to the Giants on August 29th in his last start, 6 innings pitched. Had 5 strikeouts in that game. But, positive side, he's been striking guys out. His last 6 starts from a strikeout perspective, 7, 9, 6, 6, 6, and 5. Biggest thing is going to be control, making sure he's not giving up the walks. In his last 4 games, only 4 combined walks. So if he can come off fresh and ready to go, I think he's another good addition down the stretch for the Reds.
Yeah. Man, good day, good time to have a day off tomorrow. And hopefully we Reds can get it rolling in Detroit. Reds have been a better road team this year, Greg. So let's see if they continue that road magic. And then of course at the Mets after that. So big week for the Reds. I'm thinking probably, Craig, the rest of this series probably going to see Connor Phillips. Lyon Richardson was optioned today. Not he was actually on the roster and officially got optioned. So unless he's replacing a guy on injury, he has to be down for 15 days. So that to me seems like a pretty good ding, ding, ding hint that Connor Phillips is getting another start. Abbott could pitch in this series against the Tigers. Maybe they go with Ben Lively, push Abbott back. It'd be interesting to see what the Reds decide to do. You got any thoughts on that?
We talked about it earlier. This is where David Bell earns his Manager of the Year candidacy, and this is a perfect position for him to be able to do that. Yeah, I mean, other than Willie throwing on Tuesday, you really don't have any clear answers on what that rotation is going to look like. Probably Andrew Abbott on Thursday would be my guess, but that Wednesday game, I don't know, maybe Ben Lively, like you said. So I'm not sure. It'll be interesting to see, and I don't know that the Reds have announced anything yet.
They haven't.
So as of right now, it'll be TBA. But yeah, and time for David Bell to earn his paycheck.
Trying to see who's worse against lefties. See if that'll give us a hint. The Tigers are really bad against lefties. They've got an 89 weighted runs created plus this year against lefties. The Mets are better, but the Mets also lost half their roster, so I'm not really sure what they look like now. But that might give you a good hint as to maybe the Reds decide to, even though they know Abbott, might be. I don't think is running on fumes. The Tigers are probably a good match just because they are a team that struggles against lefties. As I pull up their lineup here, their first two hitters in the lineup against a right-handed lineup are lefties in Baду and McKinstry. Parker Meadows, they just called up a lefty. Kerry Carpenter, who's been their big slugger, is a lefty. So that's a team that they're running out some TJ Hopkins types when they face a left-handed pitcher. Knock on wood that legends like Andy Ibanez for the Tigers don't absolutely make me eat my words. But this probably would be a good matchup for Andrew Abbott. So my guess is they probably do go Williamson, Phillips, Abbott in this series.
You look for 4 innings out of Phillips, and then you hand it over to the bullpen and see if they can't shut it down. See if Sam Moll can get back on track. He seems like he's still numbers wise still has been okay, but noticeably not as dominant as he was early on in his Reds tenure. So it'll be interesting to see what we do. I do think that given that, it wouldn't be shocking to me to see David Bell go to Andrew Abbott for sure. But either way, let's get a sweep.
Let's do it. I'm all about it. You can't start a win streak without winning the first one, right, Craig?
Got one down.
Today was one. And as I tweeted earlier today, the Reds have 5 win streaks this season of 5+ games. It's time for number 6, and would be cool if this is win number 1. And then I would expect also Hunter Green on Friday in New York against the Mets. I can't imagine the Reds are. I imagine he's at least every 5 days. At least every 5 days the rest of the way. Even with that day off, they're going to use that to their benefit with a fresh Hunter Green, especially the way he looked today. So,
no doubt.
Exciting times, Craig. We're still alive. This is why you're a baseball fan. This is why you like the Cincinnati Reds. Craig, you got any final thoughts here? Oh, I got to do Reds on my LB. What am I doing?
Yeah, you do. Positive sign here. 7 of the 8 hardest hit balls today were from Reds. 8 of 10 hardest hit balls. They had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 balls over 100 miles per hour today. Expected batting average over 300 on the game. So get that offense rolling, go into Detroit, pick up a couple dubs, pick up a couple, maybe a half game tomorrow on a day off. And for all you naysayers out there, the Reds are back.
Never left. Never left. All right, Reds MILB presented by Betfred Sportsbook. All right, we start off with AAA Louisville. They won in 10 innings today, 3-2 over St. Paul. Jose Barrero was 1 for 3. Alejo Lopez, 2 hits. What a legend. Got sit down. Jumped right into the lineup, got 2 hits. And then Michael Marriott. Shout out to Michael Marriott. 4 2/3 innings. Only allowed 2 runs. Struck out 6. Good to see that. Chattanooga just getting underway with Montgomery today. And then 2 teams that finished their season today. And both finished on a high note. Really cool to see. First off, the Dayton Dragons. They won 4-2 over Fort Wayne, which was really cool. They scored 4 runs in the 8th inning. They actually came back to win that game. And it secured their 3rd straight winning season. So really cool to see that. And all the big dogs were part of that comeback. Carlos Jorge, Hector Rodriguez, and Edwin Arroyo all had big hits in that 8th inning rally. So just, cool to see that team that's got a lot of really, really good talent finishing the year on a high note. And yeah, that's just good to see. Hector Rodriguez, 2 hits today was the big standout. Sal Stewart, though, also 2 hits, stole a base, and walked. And interesting enough, that was kind of almost a must-win game for Fort Wayne because they're the team that held the second half lead, and they lost that. But I'm not sure if they still could have. They were like they had a half game lead going into the day, so I don't know what the other team did. But nonetheless, good to see those guys end on a high note. And then the other team that ended on a high note, Craig, the Daytona Tortugas, they won 13-4 over St. Lucie. Cam Collier 1 for 4 with a walk. Collier didn't have a high average or didn't hit for a lot of power this year, but did finish his first professional season with a .349 on base percentage. I know he's one of the youngest players in the Florida State League, so good to see that. Also, a big day for Carlos Sanchez. He's the Reds' number 24 prospect in his finale of the season. 2 for 4, 2 doubles, and a walk. Ricardo Cabrera, 0 for 4, but did walk twice for the Tortugas. So that's your Reds MILB presented by Betfred Sportsbook. Craig, let's get to a couple questions here that I have starred. And if anyone else has any questions before we wrap this up, we'll get to them. What's your lineup down the stretch? I mean, it's going to depend a lot on matchups. This is like such a hard question.
This is a terrible question to ask when you're talking about a team that platoons 3 or 4 different positions every game. I mean,
let's assume right-handed pitching. I mean that's the. If you look at the Fangraphs page, the Reds have 5 platoon spots listed in their lineup, which is just nuts. I mean, I think on a standard night against right-handed pitching, I'll say it. I think I put Joey Votto on the bench. I know that's not a popular, but I can't take Christian Encarnacion Strand out of the lineup. And I guess I'm putting Noelvi Marte on the bench. I hate doing that. The caveat here is if Nick Martini starts to look like what you think Nick Martini should look like, then I think I'm putting Marte back in the lineup and I'm putting Steer out in the outfield. I don't know. Do you have any?
I mean, I find it really hard to put Noelvi Marte on the bench.
I do too, but you put Martini on the bench?
I mean, all right, so let's go around the horn. So who are you starting at third in that situation, Spencer?
Yeah, because I have Indy at second.
Yep. Okay, so you've got Steer at third, De La Cruz at short, India at second, and you're starting Martini at first. What are you doing?
No, CES is at first because
CES at first. Okay, yeah,
Fraley's got to be your DH.
Fraley's got to be your DH. Yep. Okay, and then your outfield is Martini, Friedel,
I'll make this
and Benson.
Yeah, I'll make this a little easier. Hold on. Yeah. Yeah. All right. There you go. That's still pretty hard to see. But it's a little easier for people to see if they're watching on YouTube. But yeah, I mean, I think I'm going with that lineup that Fangraphs has, but I'm putting CES over Votto if it's a standard day. But again, there's a lot of caveats to this. If Nick Martini has an 0 for 8, I can't afford to wait and see if, Martini's coming back out of it, or okay, I think Nick Martini's starting to look like what we actually expect Nick Martini to look. Then I'm probably putting Votto in, and I don't know, maybe putting CS out left field. I don't know. God almighty.
David Bell earning his paycheck, Nick.
It's tough, man. These are
it's
tough
a difficult
decisions.
yeah. I don't it's hard to argue with that, first and foremost, right? I'm not in love with Votto being your only left-handed bat off the bench, because you know that even if they start a right-handed pitcher, they're going to go lefty reliever, righty reliever, and leave you in a situation where you're going to have to bat righty versus a righty in a situation that you don't want to. But that would be the only thing that stands out to me. But at the same time, you got to put your best starting lineup out there. So
the one nice thing this does, Craig, is there's been a lot of spots where maybe the Reds face a reliever in the 5th or 6th inning, and it's not a good matchup, but the Reds don't go to their because they're trying to protect themselves later.
Yep.
But let's say you start this exact lineup you see right here on Fangraphs, but you have CES instead of Votto.
Yep.
And a big spot comes up, and I mean, I would say, but let's say Tyler Stevens is out of the lineup and it's Luke Maile. All right. Because I don't think Tyler Stevens is taking him out for anyone right now. But say it's Luke Maile. You could pinch hit Votto for Maile and still feel good about it later. Yeah. The problem is the Reds right-handed batters, none of them you really want to take out of the lineup right now. So you can't even really pinch hit Votto for anyone, right? No, here's how I should have presented it. I screwed it up. So let's say you go with that lineup.
Mm-hmm.
They bring in a lefty to face Jake Fraley. You can pinch hit Senzel for Fraley and not be worried that Senzel's going to get a spot against a tough righty later in the game, because then you could pinch hit Votto in the DH spot for Senzel. That's where it could actually really help the Reds. That's what I should have started out at. And then vice versa. If you're facing a left-handed pitcher, you're probably going to have a decent right-handed batter on the bench now too, and it can give you a little bit more flexibility to pinch hit and then pinch it again. So,
I think what we can all agree upon is that everybody who judges a lineup card the second it comes out can just be quiet for the rest of the year. I mean, there's going to have to be some difficult decisions pretty much every single game in terms of who plays and who doesn't. And my guess is that we're not going to get a whole lot of situations where we're second guessing the lineup card. So if we're debating it this hard, I would imagine that David Bell and all the analytics and data people he has behind him and all the coaches with all the years of experience that they have, they're probably putting out the lineup that they think is best. So I think we leave it at that.
And there also might be some spots here too where a certain guy's not starting because he doesn't look 100%. Like they see him come in and they see him kind of limping in the clubhouse, and that might be a decision why they're in the lineup versus another guy. Because, yeah, I mean, Jake Fraley at 70% or whatever he is right now has still looked pretty good. But if he comes in and he's looking like 40, okay, well then maybe we take him out of the lineup. We put CES or Votto in that spot. Yeah, we keep it moving, but tough decisions. That's a good question. Any news on Ashcraft? Ashcraft was 2 to 3 weeks. I believe the official words from Mark Sheldon was David Bell was optimistic that he could start again this season, but not sure if that's realistic. So I think right now you're probably anticipating you're not going to have Graham Ashcraft the rest of the year. And if somehow he does, great. Could also be a situation where Graham Ashcraft comes back and he's not going to be fully stretched out. And maybe Graham Ashcraft comes out and pitches 2 innings in a bullpen game or something like that.
Right. Yeah. I think ideal situation would be you get him one more start before the playoffs. Because I don't think you want to be in a situation where you're, well, I don't know. Maybe he wouldn't even be a starter in the playoffs at this point, which is crazy to think of. But I think ideal situation, like you said, he's out 2 to 3 weeks. If we can get him back for one start before the playoffs start and get him stretched out, at least get him some in-game pitching. I do think that his mentality would serve well out of the bullpen. So I could definitely see him being someone that comes in, eats somewhere between 2 and 4 innings in a game where maybe the starter isn't sharp, but the offense is, and it's still a close game, or the Reds have a slight lead and need a pitcher out of the bullpen to come out and put together a strong outing. I mean, I think that he could definitely fill that role for the Reds down the stretch.
Yeah. Thomas asks, y'all think we can win out? No, Thomas, I do not think we can win out. But I don't think the Reds need to win out. If you look at FanGraphs, their projected win total right now for the Diamondbacks is 84 wins. So the Reds hold the tiebreaker on the Diamondbacks. So 10 wins gets the Reds to 84 wins. So I think if you're looking at maybe a realistic number, 10-7 in these last 17 games will give the Reds a legitimate chance. 11-6 gives the Reds a really good chance. 12-5 is almost a guarantee. Almost. And I mean, I guess there's even a possibility that 9-8 gets you at least in the conversation, at least get you playing probably into the final weekend of the year. And you could have some, maybe some good luck happens to you. But yeah, I mean, Diamondbacks are projected at 84.0 on FanGraphs right now. So 10-7 gets you to that number.
And you've got the schedule to do it. I mean, I know the trolls in the chat don't want us talking about a weak schedule when we just dropped 2 to the Cardinals, but your schedule is against the Tigers, 3 against the Tigers, 3 against the Mets. You have 3 against the Twins, but it's at home. 3 against the Pirates, the 2 at Cleveland, and then 3 against the Cardinals to close out the year. So yeah, I mean, is it unrealistic to think that 10-7 is achievable? I mean, I certainly would hope so. There's a lot of baseball left to be played in this last 3 weeks. We are exactly 3 weeks out from the end of the season. So there's plenty of opportunities for wins.
Yeah, Ryan, absolutely. Yeah, I mean,
I like Ryan. Where's Ryan been all night?
Yeah, where were you last night, brother? Just kidding, Ryan. But yeah, let's do it. Let's count them up here. All right, 2 of 3 from the Tigers.
Yep.
That's 2. 2 of 4, 2 of 3 from the Mets. That's 4. 1 of 3 from the Twins. So the only 1 of 3. That's 5. 2 of 3 from the Pirates. That's 7. Split with the Guardians. That's 8. The Guardians are only a 2-game series. and then you take 2 or 3 from the Cardinals in the year. That's your 10 wins right there. So you don't even have to play. That's not extraordinary. I mean, yeah, that's winning almost every series except for the one, but that's not sweeping a series. You don't even have to sweep a series, and you could lose a series to the most difficult team you have and still get those 10 wins. So it's definitely still a possibility. Ohio Lakers, quick rundown of how the playoff format works. So the top 2 teams in the National League get buys. It's for sure going to be the Braves as the number 1, the Dodgers as the number 2, and then your last division winner, which should be the Brewers, borrowing the Cubs or something crazy happening there, and then 3 wild card teams. You have 4 teams. The last division winner, the 3 wild cards, they play a best of 3, but it's all at the higher seed. So if the Reds got in as a 6th seed, they would most likely be paying the Brewers in a best of 3 in Milwaukee. No home games for the Reds whatsoever. If the Reds were fortunate enough to advance, then the Reds move on to a best of 5 series, which would, assuming they're the 6th seed playing the Brewers as a 3, that would be against the Dodgers. First 2 would be on the road in LA. Then you'd finally get 2 games. Well, 1 game for sure, unless you get swept or you sweep. 2 games at home, and then it goes back to LA or whoever the higher seed is if it goes to a game 5. So that's how the format works. Hopefully we are a part of it. All right. Well, that's all I got today. Check out Chatterbox Bengals if you've been watching this this show today. Appreciate what those guys do, especially on a day like today. It's not a whole lot of fun to do a live show after a stinker of a game. I've done it about 70 times this year. 71. I think I took a couple off, but yeah, shout out to those guys. There'll be a lot more brighter days for them, I'm sure, coming up. So appreciate those guys. And then, yeah, we'll be in podcast form. I'll make sure there is a podcast on Tuesday morning for you, probably audio only. I'll run through all the notes about the Tigers. Maybe I'll have a guest on, maybe not. Maybe it'll just be me telling you everything you know about the stinking Detroit Tigers. But we'll have something for you. Probably, as long as the Reds are still in the race, even on the off days, we'll have a podcast every day the rest of the year. I'll tell you that. So, Craig, you're a legend, man. Enjoyed having you on. You might have froze on me. Craig, you there? Oh, no. Am I alone here? Am I the only one on? Chat, am I alone? Do we go off the air?
I just got back. I didn't know if it was me or you.
Okay. I wasn't sure if it froze and I'm just talking to the void here online. But Craig, appreciate you, my friend. These last 3 days, you've been awesome. I'm sure we'll have you on again before the season ends.
Always a pleasure. I'm glad that that we didn't end on a sour note. Could have been real bad if we didn't win today. But no, pleasure. Great game out of the Reds today. Great to see Hunter Green back in form, and always a pleasure to do the show with you, Kirby. And best wishes to Andrea. Hope she's feeling better soon.
All right, Craig. Well, thanks everyone for watching. Appreciate you as always. We'll talk to you again soon. Go Reds.
You thought we were done. You thought we were done.
I don't know which way I'm going. There you go.
Nick on Nick crime before we go.
It's been so long. I forgot how. Well, we need to see Nick about 10 more times this rest of the year, right?
10 more times.
Plus the
Let's make it
postseason.
12.
See everyone.